Thank you for our introduction, Anne. Welcome to our talk about the practical implementation of linked open data at the Nieuwe Instituut. As Anne said, I'm Michelle Boon. I'm the project lead of linked open data. So I oversee all the projects that have a linked open data aspect in them.
My name is Lois Hutubessy. I work as a collection data manager at Het Nieuwe Instituut, based in Rotterdam, the Netherlands. And like Anne just mentioned, we manage a national collection of Dutch architecture and urban planning. And as a collection data manager, I'm responsible for how the data is managed and entered in the collection registration system, but also how it is disclosed to our online portfolio. And a key project we are working on at the moment with Michelle is the conversion of our collection data to linked open data. So that will also be the focus of our presentation today. The goal is really to guide you through the steps of how we've implemented that trajectory in the organization and to provide a tangible grip for organizations to also embark on this journey. So we will actually build upon the previous presentation by explaining how we adapted the Dutch digital heritage reference architecture that we just saw previously, and dive into the use case of the other interface. This is the working title of a project we're working on at the moment, an LOD-based interface. My colleague will then go into the steps you've taken to make the database LOD-ready in the first place. And we'll focus on the event we organized earlier this year, a mini hackathon around linked open data, before touching upon where we are now, the future directions, and the lessons we're learning along the way.
So I will not rehash the presentation of Wilbert just now. I think he did an excellent job in explaining the Dutch National Digital Strategy and the DERA. These two projects were the basis of a project of the Nieuwe Instituut itself, which is Architectuur Dichterbij, or Architecture Disclosed, which is a very large-scale project from restoring our collection to digitizing the collection to getting it out in the public. So the entire process from A to Z is under Architecture Disclosed. And within AD, which is an acronym for Architecture Disclosed, we also have the three pillars from the national strategy: sustainability, usability, and visibility as our own pillars.
So a project in which these three pillars come together is the project I just mentioned, the other interface. So like many other organizations over the past decades, we have digitized pieces in our collection and made it available through our online search portal. And this is a search interface that really caters to the needs of researchers and archivists. End users who have a targeted information acquisition behavior. So in other words, they know exactly what they're looking for and how to navigate complex hierarchical structures like archives. With the other interface, however, we want to make the collection data accessible to the lay public as well. So that means visitors who are not so familiar with the collection data and how it's structured and are really seeking an element of serendipity. So I can illustrate a key difference in this. So if a visitor right now goes to the search portal and they're, for example, interested in the work of the renowned Dutch artist and architect Theo van Doesburg, they would navigate to our search portal and find results within the scope of our collection and as entered by my colleagues in the collection registration system. The other interface, however, is an LOD-based interface, which retrieves, well, it actually queries our Sparkle endpoint, but also that of other organizations. So if a visitor was interested in the work of Theo van Doesburg, they would find architectural models from our collection, but also literature that comes from other sources. So the key benefit here really for the end user, and which we also really incorporated in the design of the other interface, is that they're no longer limited by information silos, and they can really break free from the boundaries of our collection, from our organization. And by connecting these new dots, they can really make new discoveries and come to new insights. So while the other interface is only going to be launched during our own conference in November, I cannot give a demonstration of it just yet. This project really illustrates how we go from a manifesto or a plan strategy to a practical use for end users.
So where did we start? About 2 years ago, when we started this project, we had a look around and we came up with a plan that had 3 bases, which is the legal base, the database, and the professional standards. And well, one of the first things that we needed to do was get the legal base in order. So we needed a lawyer to review our copyright policy and update it to the open standards. For the collection data, we needed to get that linked over data ready by linking the registration, as we did it back then, to a more LOD-ready way. And we had to review every single data field. What did we put in there and what should be put in there? And lastly, we had to get the data, we had to determine which data field would be open and not. Which is actually a combination of the standards, of the professional standards and the legal standards, because some fields you do not want to be open to the public. For instance, where an object is placed within the depot or the monetary value, those things are not for the public domain. And some archives have a legal waiver that it's not allowed to be put in the public domain. And the last step is the data modeling, which is getting the data up to the 3 WC standards, where we had to review the use the SARI, are they linked open data ready or not? We had to review all the ontologies that were available and see which were most suitable for the new institute. And then we had to do all the mapping of the data, of all the data, and cleaning out the data. And lastly, we had to assign all collection items with persistent identifiers so we could get the Sparkle endpoint up and running.
So even though we had already started this trajectory, I mean the LOD project had already started since 2020, we like to highlight an event, the Hackalot, as a milestone in between. So yearly, the Dutch Digital Heritage Network organizes a hackathon around LOD. And when during COVID it was cancelled, we decided to organize our own mini version. And the goal was to, it was focused on our collection data. And the goal was to see what's possible with a test Sparkle endpoint, what is possible with our collection data as is. So we invited 2 LOD experts to play around with the query to what people see of Van Doesburg related. And when we ran that query within our own database, we found 9 different results as entered by my colleagues. When we ran a federated search across Wikidata, Get to Ulan, and also the Dutch Institute of Art History, we found 17 different results. So you can only imagine what that will mean if we were to do this for more people and more collections. And we consider this as a key milestone along the process because this really gave us a tangible result to share with our colleagues and for the department to understand what it is that we're actually working on and what the results that we can achieve with it to get everybody on board, because we really needed all the different roles within the department to work to be able to do this for the rest of our database and to bring our Sparkle endpoint to a level of production.
So Right now, we're midway through our project plan. So where are we now? We've already placed a lot of policies, such as the copyright policy with right statements and Creative Commons. We also have registration guidelines, which are up to standard, but they still have to be tested to reality, because we can think of the most beautiful things, but in reality, sometimes they just work differently. We also assigned persistent identifiers to our collection data, where we made the choice to have a separate PID for the collection item and a PID for the description of the item. And we also have a URI strategy, but it's still in concept. The semantic mapping is already done for a prioritized set of fields, but we need to get it all done for the entire collection. And our Sparkle endpoint is up and running and will be open to the public in November. So that is something that you can all look forward to. And in the future, where we want to go is that we're going to connect with more users and institutions for a larger and richer data experience. And we also want to upscale what we're already doing right now. And we've learned a lot during these 2 years, but they can be summarized in 3 important lessons. 1, standardization leads to better cooperation between institutions and other end users. Linked open data leads to a richer data experience for the end users and other institutions, but also linked open data touches every single aspect of your organization, from the back to the front and everything in the middle. You talk with everyone within that organization about linked open data. So Lois and I presented the other interface, how we came to be with our collection data, how far along we already are, and results of our hackalot. So if you have any questions or any other feedback, we'd be happy to hear from them right now or during lunch. Please feel free to talk to us. Thank you so much.